Let's get some hands together, gang, for Gideon AI.
Alright, this deck is Token Monk with Nest of Vipers. 3 of them. So, starting from the top, Septon Guardsman, the only reason we run this is for Goblin Skulk. It's the most stats you can get out of a zero-cost creature, guaranteed. Of course, there is the other one, the Goblin, that has 2 attack, 1 health, but only half the time, so that doesn't really count. Marked Man is just a solid token card. He's 2 cards in 1. You can save the 0-2 defenses until you have like a 5th Legion Trainer up, and then it's a 1-2 defenses, which is really good. Scouting Patrol, it's just 2 bodies. It's good. It's Shadow Shift, 1 cost draw with potential flexibility with positioning. Sometimes it's a negative, but rarely. Room Profiteer, good sustain when you're summoning a lot of creatures and you're up against aggro. This guy keeps you in there. Crassius' favor. Basically, Scouting Patrol, but you have the option to heal, which is really nice. And it lets you stack a lane, which is really important for cards like Imperial Reinforcements and Nest of Vipers, because sometimes you want to put all your dudes in one lane and then have everything else in the other, whereas Scouting Patrol doesn't let you have that option. 5th Legion Trainer, just really good when you're summoning a ton of stuff. And yeah, Skulk, Goblin Skulk. This guy gets shut down so often, but when he doesn't, he can just take the game and run with it. Septon Guardsman kind of fills the same purpose as Curse in the other variants of this Skulk package, where he protects the Skulk. But sometimes, I mean, it's very flexible. It's a 0 cost, 1-2 with guard. It's really flexible. And you can draw it from going face, which we want to go face a lot with this deck, so that we can get them low enough to finish them off with a big burst from Divine Fervor or Hidden Trail or Nest of Vipers. So Skulk is our game plan. Priest of the 8, just kind of good-ish. He draws a card and puts a body on the board and is a 2 cost. And so that's all generally just where we want to be. Thieves Guild Recruit, same thing, although you can get your Nest of Vipers 1 turn early with the Thieves Guild Recruit, so that's nice. And he's a 2 cost 1-2 that draws a card. That's just really solid. Brotherhood Slayer, Prophecy, good. 3 cost, good. We don't have any of the 3 costs. And if you can kill something with it, then you can get the Nest of Vipers 1 turn early. Or it's flexible. You can do a lot of things sooner than they should. Hidden Trail, really powerful. I'm surprised I haven't seen this as often as I have. It has a potential of dealing 8 damage the turn it's played, and it's a 4 cost. It's the Shadow Lane thing can be negative, and it can be positive. It's matchup and situationally dependent on that. But you can turn the field lane into the Shadow Lane, which as an aggro deck is really powerful, because all of a sudden, if your opponent owns the field lane, it doesn't matter. You can still throw your guys in there, and they'll get their attack through, unless they have a guard, but, you know. Imperial Reinforcements is really solid. It might look like a really crappy Crassius' Favor or Scouting Patrol, but the point is not that it is 4 costs. The point is that it is 1 card, and this deck has very little value. And when this 1 card can become not just a bunch of 1/1s, but a bunch of 2/1s or a bunch of 2/2s or 3/2s, that's just really good. And Nyx's Hound, definitely a surprising card. It's a Prophecy with a very defensive effect, but you can use that to push your offense. You can shackle drain creatures. You can shackle pilfer creatures. You can use this to get the edge in a race, and in doing that, it can be an aggressive option. It is also really synergistic with 5th Legion Trainer, Hidden Trail, and Divine Fervor, because its effect will trigger before each of those. Actually, okay, I might be wrong on the 5th Legion Trainer, but it definitely triggers with Hidden Trail and Divine Fervor in play. It will come down, and if you have one of them up, it'll shackle everything with 4 or less power. Or, sorry, 3 or less power. And then if you have it at, if you have 2 supports up, it's not hard to get this guy to basically just freeze your entire enemy's board and basically be a better giant snake. And that is really powerful, especially when you're working up to as big a win condition as a turn 10 Nest of Vipers. Divine Fervor, also really good. It's generally better than Hidden Trail, but it's just, you run both because you're never going to get capped out on supports or anything. Piercing Javelin is a good prophecy. This deck has no other hard removal. I mean, we could run Executes or stuff like that, but it's really good to have unconditional removal, and Piercing Javelin is the best one. So why Nest of Vipers? Nest of Vipers has huge synergy. It summons 4 chargers with 5th Legion Trainer, Divine Fervor, and Hidden Trail. If you have 1 buffer up, it deals 8 damage. If you have 2 buffers up, it's 12 damage. 3, and it's 16 damage. And 4, which is the maximum amount of supports you can have up at a time, is 20 damage with 1 card. The fact that it also summons 4 bodies that all have lethal is also really important for breaking through huge guards. Like, if your opponent has a Hive Defender in a lane, the Cliff Racer would be blocked completely. Nest of Vipers can still get 3/4 of its total damage through. And it also, if you compare this to something like Tullius's Conscription makes a big board. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to keep that board, especially with Drain Vitality all over the place, especially with, Ice Storm or even just enemy Drain creatures. It doesn't block that. Nest of Vipers comes down a turn earlier, and it ends the game. So that's why we run Nest of Vipers. First game up against House Redoran. Assuming it's going to be some kind of mid-range with the rally thing going on. But you never know. So we're just going to full mill everything we need to get on the board fast, and then we need to follow that up with Hidden Trail or Divine Fervor. This isn't the worst starting hand, but there's no clear curve right here. Our opponent puts down an okay tempo play, so we're just going to put down something that we can trade with, hopefully. So now it looks like he's going to be able to get some pretty sick value out of the Ancestral Dead, but hopefully we can counter that with some value of our own. Yeesh, it's going to be a little bit hard to protect that 5th Legion Trainer, but at least we're going to be able to get +3 attack. Question is which lane, and that Skulk is really tempting. So right lane so that we can definitely take care of that value machine he's got over there, and the Drain. That's pretty irritating. Give up our 5th Legion Trainer and control the field lane, but we get to draw some cards. So that kind of makes up for it. Dawnbreaker is pretty irritating. 4/4 with charge, but we've got the Piercing Javelin, so value is still in our favor. We get to draw with the Skulk and lay down a guard. Trades pretty well. Protects our guy, even if he has a Stormcloak Vanguard. He's probably going to play that 5/5. Yep. Best bang for the buck. So right here it looks like a 5th Legion into Imperial Reinforcements. And our Skulk trades evenly with that 5/5 over there. Worst comes to worst. He is pushing quite a lot of face damage, but he still chooses to trade right there, which is interesting. That implies that he doesn't have a whole lot of reach in his deck. Not very many charge creatures. I know some Redoran decks have a lot of charge creatures. So let's just make sure our Legion Trainer stays safe. Maybe even play a Reinforcements this turn. Or Nyx Hound. It really seems to be the only best options at the time. We can trade off the 5th Legion Trainer because it doesn't seem like this guy's packing anything that would really deal with it at 2 health that it couldn't at 3.
There's a plan.
Room of Profiteer. This guy is staying topped off. Skeever Infestation. Nice. This guy keeps just feeding us cards, though. We're definitely winning in the value game. He's going to have to finish this off soon, or he's just going to flat out lose. We can take some choice trades, but unfortunately that Shadow Lane is going to be really useful for him. We still have a Nyx Hound, and Nyx Hound is really good for preventing that kind of thing, but only if it gets buffed up, so we got to make sure these two 5th Legion trainers stay online. Nest of Vipers is not going to be very useful this game if our lanes stay full as they are. So we're going to just go ahead and swing in and sacrifice one of our guys just to ensure that we don't get slammed by some item. Morag Tong Nightblade not even summoning anything for us because we're already still full. He does run Battle Rage Orcs, so we are missing out on some buffs from the 5th Legion trainer, which also synergize very well with Nest of Vipers. But we're just going to go ahead and trade off to be safe. Still have a Javelin in hand, which is really nice. And it looks like we can set up a 2-turn kill from this position.
Just give me an
There it is. The Conceal. Probably doesn't run that many guard creatures, if I had to wager. Next game is an Archer. So, could be one of those slow control-ish decks, or it could be full aggro. But so we always pretty much want to mill for aggro in this kind of situation. Do not keep Nested Vipers, ever. We catch a Divine Favor, so that's nice. But Skulk is always going to be our turn 1 play.
If I fall,
He's got a nice counter. Looks definitely a lot like Slay Archer. So the best use of our Magicka is the Room of Profiteer. Market Man wouldn't really do a whole lot for us. Skooma Racketeer, Nord Firebrand combo. It's been a long time since I've seen that one. So it looks like we can, yeah, definitely Imperial Reinforcements this turn. The only question is, would we go for a second Reinforcements or Divine Fervor? This guy might be running Skaven Pyromancers, but I doubt it. The lethal package usually edges out all the ping-based equipment from the strength package. So Divine Fervor is just so good right here, so we're just gonna blast on through. Would have made a slight difference in the trading if we had gone for the Imperial Reinforcements in the left lane. That Gambit is really irritating. This guy's ramping up a little. Getting some really efficient plays, but he only has 2 cards left in his hand, and he's still dealing with just a handful of our own because of the Divine Fervor value.
did you hear that?
So we can use the now 1/3 guard to protect against Astrid and preserve our 2/2 in the left lane. This looks like a rage. That's a rage. So he gets a lot of contract, but hopefully he won't have anything to spend his magic on. He could draw into a bunch of stuff, but he's really low on value right now. And we still have 3 nests of Vipers in our deck. So I'm feeling pretty happy about that. I think we're winning the value game. Right as we draw into a 0 drop. Still though, that Divine Fervor is really paying out.
Did you hear that?
It doesn't make any sense to play either of those 2 creatures in either lane. They're both worth more stats, and we can just trade what we have on the board. Man, that is an expensive raiding party. 3 cost to clean up, a 1 cost minion. So the question is, do we cash in the contract right now or not? I don't think so. Even though we're still only on turn 7, and if we get a contract, then we can accelerate a potential nest of vipers to turn 9 or even 8. It still doesn't make a whole lot of sense to skip the value that you're getting out of the stats, the raw stats. So because we don't really have anything else in hand to do, just gonna play out our cards. Second Divine Fervor. That is really good for the value. This game is looking a bit more locked up, but we still need to push forward on the face damage in order to ensure that our that we can eventually get lethal, because he could still lock us out of this game. He's got guards. He's got javelins. Yep, he's got more prophecies. More Moonlight Werebats. Those things are must-kill targets. No matter how much value we could lose in the left lane. There's another finish off. And Namira's Shrine. So we could really lose this game hard. This guy just got his value engine and we're still just chugging along on our 1 and 2 drops. This deck does have an exorbitant amount of 1 and 2 drops. If we draw Priest of the 8 right now, then we are really in a bad spot. The stats aren't the worst, but still. We only have a couple of... There it is. So hopefully he doesn't have any sick prophecies right here. Looks like not. Nest of Vipers lethal. Exactly what it's there for. Check this guy out. He's running Crusader. 99% of the time that's going to be some kind of aggro. Again, not that it really matters that much. There are very few differences that we're going to really have in our mulligans, whether it's control or aggro. Unfortunately, we have 2 nests in our opening hand. It's got a rally creature. We can contest it or we can ignore it, but I think we should contest it just in case. Gavel of the Ordinator. That's pretty irritating. Well, I suppose we'll try to draw into something that can kill it. But, well, hey, Imperial Reinforcements is better than nothing. That guy's getting a ton of value. But it looks like he doesn't have that many plays right now. So we have plenty of time to just set up our Divine Fervor and get ready for the value train. We're not going to break that next rune because it looks like this game's going to go very long. Holy moly. So we can either trade or we can javelin. And that's a 5-6. I'd be willing to bet that this guy is not running that much more. So we're going to javelin. And even though this game is going to go late, eventually we need to hit this guy's face. Belligerent Giant is really irritating. So it looks like this guy's running something a little bit slower. There's our 3rd javelin. Dang. But it looks like, yeah, it looks like this guy's running something a little bit slower than the typical. So we're just going to yeah, maybe using that that first javelin wasn't such a good idea. After all, this guy's got quite a bit of support removal, probably including the Dushnik Yal Archer. I would not be surprised to see that. And I can't really let that Hive Defender stay up there, even though the Cloudrest Illusionist does have. Well, he only banishes 1 5th Legion trainer. So we have the other one in hand, and accidentally playing the 5th Legion trainer out of order. However, his execute only hits 1 target there, so kind of a bait, I guess. We're just gonna get that guy out of the way so that we can get more lethals onto the board. Playing our first Nest of Vipers at 3/4 power because we have a Spider Worker in the left lane, and well, we also do want to protect our 5th Legion trainer, just in case he doesn't have something else that can deal with it. Not a second Gabble, it looks like. But he's still going pretty strong on the value game. Let's hope that doesn't trigger. Nay, it does not. This guy does seem to be running quite a few red drops, so that's good for us. We can Shadow Shift the 0-1 to get him out of the way for our Vipers, but it looks like we're still not doing too well on the value game. So even though that is 8 and we are 1 off lethal, we still probably want to do some trading just so that we can make full usage of our board in the current state and Nest of Vipers next turn for lethal. Another cast into time and a really beefy guard. But as long as this guy doesn't have any prophecy guards, then we should be able to just punch right through in the left lane. Ooh, I suppose a prophecy javelin on the 5th Legion trainer would also have done it in for us right there, but we did just draw into a Divine Fervor, so it wouldn't have been too bad. That was a good game. Interesting deck list. So I've been trying for a while to make Token Monk work, and I think nowadays, in the era of aggressive mid-range decks running 11 cost actions, I think it's okay to run Nest of Vipers. Nest of Vipers is actually incredibly underrated, I believe. It has both tons of value packed in there. Could clear a whole lane and still leave up 2 3/2s with lethal if you just have 2 supports up, you know, a Hidden Trail and a Divine Fervor. It's got a lot of synergies in the monk colors, and it's generally a really good finisher. If you think about Cliff Racer, it's quite a bit faster, yes, but the cards that you want to run with this, Hidden Trail, Divine Fervor, they just synergize so much better with the Nest of Vipers. And you could look at it like you could run 2 Cliff Racers, and most of the time you'd be getting the same results as a single Nest of Vipers. But as you saw, this deck runs out of steam really fast. There just isn't any significant card draw. Maybe a Namira's Shrine could help that, but then you're slowing down so much, and then you just lose in the tempo game. And this deck already running 6 healing cards barely stays in the fight against dedicated aggro decks. So Nest of Vipers does seem like a very good choice in today's meta.